JD's podcast. JD's Rubber Boots podcast. We gonna sit and relax and tell you all sorts of stories. Talk about life and little sports. You know we're gonna play some games. And if nothing else, you know we're gonna have a laugh. We're gonna have a laugh, oh yeah. 'Cause this is the podcast.
47th annual Super Bowl edition of the Rubber Boots Pod. Yeah, I think we did it back in the days of Bart Starr, I think was our first one.
And the Green Bay Packers.
Once again, I've flown down Lester and Stoff to do the Rubber Boots podcast from the Super Bowl.
Glad to be here, James.
I know we had to cut budget this year. Had to cut Puffy from the budget. So
You know
I've
what?
only flown the two of you down.
It's a shame. It's a shame he's not here, but I have to say, in this Super Bowl configuration, I get to sit right across from you because he's not here, and
Right.
you're a beautiful man.
In our
James.
special studios, we have at the Fontainebleau. We're at the poolside at the Fontainebleau in Miami. You can hear the pool noises in the background. Can't you, Stoff?
Oh, listen to them go.
People splashing around.
Yes. But not doing anything too specific.
But nothing too specific. More like general noise you would find on an audio track.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
in any pool.
I'll send you the Weimara waves.
All right. We're in studio. Last year I did this. I said that you guys were down with me, and several of my friends believed me. And so I thought I'd try and pull it off again. So we're doing the Super Bowl edition of the pod. I am taping this and then heading to Super Bowl. So we're going to do the first half of the pod here from studio, and then I'll do hopefully some segments down at Super Bowl, although I make no real promises. Lester, this is a big break for him. Stoff?
Huge.
We are in the studio, which we referred to in last week's episode, where Puffy sits directly across from me, and that's why he's right in my eye line, and that's why I end up talking to him more because I'm facing him.
Yes, of course.
Whereas Lester's way down in the corner.
I couldn't be further away.
Remember, people on the
People were shocked,
People
yeah.
on the Instagram Live were commenting how far away you
Yes.
were from us, and that's why you're just in my periphery.
Yes, I know.
My peripheral vision.
Yes.
By the way, I've told you how blind I'm going, right?
Yes.
It's
you
becoming a
mentioned.
problem driving
Yeah.
at night. Everything starts to look like,
Yeah.
you know, in the old drinking and driving commercial where they kept putting the glasses in front of her, and then the eighth glass. That's what it looks like when I'm driving. So you should probably stay away from me while I'm driving.
Well, you should definitely go see an optometrist and get your eyes checked.
It's not pretty. Speaking of which, really quickly, quick Brooksy story.
I guess that's what I'm saying, Brooks.
We drove down to see my daughter, Darian, at Guelph on Sunday. And Brooksy and I, and Jared, although Jared was out with his girlfriend's family, so he kind of stiffed us a little bit. So Brooksy has become, as she's gotten a little bit older, a very paranoid driver, a passenger. She has very weird quirks on the road. She won't like me for sharing this with you guys, but she doesn't really listen to the pod, and none of her friends do, so we should be okay. Brooksy tells me as I'm going down the 407 towards Guelph, I went into the left lane, the far left lane.
Yeah.
She said, no, get out of this lane. I said, why? And this is what she said. She said, because if someone is driving the opposite way, if someone gets on the highway going the wrong way, that's the lane they always go in.
Oh, wow. She's got a point.
So I take it she saw some video from the other day where
It's a hell of a statistic.
someone got on the 401 or something the opposite way and must have been in the I'm like, honey, I think we're probably okay. I don't know that they do charts on these things, but the number of people that go the wrong way on the 407, I'm not going to say it's more than one or two ever.
Although, if it's the 407, you get on the wrong way, maybe you don't have to pay the toll.
Wow.
Which is not a bad clue. But if you got on the wrong way, wouldn't you be in probably the slow lane, the closest lane to where you got on? You wouldn't cross over to the fast lane.
I think her point is that lane is the fast lane going the wrong way is on the right side, so the person going the wrong way would think they're on the slow lane.
Right.
I think I understand what she's saying.
No, you don't, because there's no comprehension to it. I said, honey, I don't think anybody's going to come the wrong way. It's broad daylight. We'll be okay. And then she said, but also, if the truck tires fall off, they're more likely to hit you in that lane. So she's saying of the 18-wheeler coming the opposite way on the 407, remember that rash of truck tires?
Yes, I do
It seemed
remember
like
that.
there was one a day in Toronto a few years ago.
I actually had a truck lose a tire in front of me and it hit my car.
Of course you did.
Wow.
You did
tire
not.
related.
You did not.
No, 100% I did. I was on the way to do Jay and Dan, I think, last season. and I was driving behind a truck. A tire flew off, and I was in the middle lane. The truck was in the right lane, and I was trapped between two cars. I had nowhere to go, so I literally just watched this tire bounce and hit my car. And
now,
fly over.
it is. We make light, but that's terrifying, right? Because those things can kill you. They're flying.
Yes.
I had no idea what was going to happen. It kind of just hit my car and went over, and I was quite lucky. I pulled over. Everything
was fine. Your car was fine. Your car that has breaks down all the time, survived that.
It was somebody else's tire this time.
Wow, unbelievable.
Well, you should be a show. You know all those shows like
I should get a dash
Nightmare
cam.
401, Highway to Hell. It should just be Stoff drives to work, and that's a show.
Yeah, the commute.
You got one camera crew behind you, one in the left lane, although you should stay out of the left lane, according to Brooksy. Anyway, Brooksy's driving tips for all of you. Stay out of the left lane on any highway because either you're going to get hit by someone going the opposite way or you're going to get hit by a truck.
She doesn't have a problem going in a car with the driver who can't see where he's going.
Well, I try. You see, I haven't really told her about how bad my vision is because as long as we're in daylight, I'm okay. But at night, you want to stay off the road with me. I'm going to get the laser surgery. And I'm going to Instagram it live.
Really?
Yeah.
That'd be great for
glasses
the pod.
wouldn't be. I don't listen. I'll tell you right now. I don't trust that stuff at all. I know a couple of people like laser surgery. No,
don't scare me when I'm going to do it.
Are you really going to do it?
Yeah, I want to do it.
It's gone wrong.
Yeah.
On what happens?
I heard of that. I thought it was simple.
They have to wear glasses. And you went on through.
Well, didn't they have to wear glasses before?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I don't know. I just don't trust it. I don't trust it. Like, why are you spending all this money to get your eyes done, and then it doesn't work, and you got to wear glasses anyway?
Well, because I think it works most of the time, or people wouldn't do it.
I think
you're one of those. You're perpetrating like the internet myths. You know,
the guy Jimmy's going to.
You know who I am?
Do a good job.
You know who I am? I'll tell you right now. This is why I'm so careful in my life. Okay.
Yeah.
I am Len Bias. I'm Len Bias.
Oh, you're the guy if you did one thing once?
Did one thing once, and it goes downhill. Yes.
Len Bias.
Len only did cocaine once?
There were stories afterwards that wasn't the case. Originally, that was the story. Len Bias, for any young listeners out there, was the first overall pick?
First overall pick
of the Boston Celtics.
1986.
Died of a cocaine, not overdose, really. He just died of a...
He had a heart attack.
Heart attack when he did cocaine, and the story was that he only did it once.
First time he tried it.
I hope I've used that story on all my children.
Good.
It may not be true, but that's what I tell all my kids and hope that they listen to me. But I say it even with like edibles. Len Bias, he had an edible and he's gone. So he can't do any of that stuff. Beer, Len Bias. He drank a beer.
He drank a beer. One beer. He had a sip.
They won't Google it. They won't search it. Anyway, so Lester's right across from me. I can stare into his beautiful eyes all day long. Puffy's down in Curacao. Did I say it right? Did we look on the interweb to find out if I'm saying that
Curacao.
Right?
Curacao.
Is that the site that I used in episode 1 that was like Juan Wario?
Yes, that's the exact one. That's the same font and everything.
So it's really Curacao?
Probably.
Juan Wario.
One water.
Puffy, by the way, has about 9 vacations a year. People make fun of the time that I have off because I'm off in the summer and I'm, always
golfing,
at Cabot or down at Turks. But nobody takes more vacations than Puffy. It's a study.
Oh, okay.
When he comes back next week, we have to analyze how many vacations he gets a year because his Tanya, I think, her parents, they take him off to Mexico like 3 times a year.
Nice.
Puffy goes to Turks with us. Nobody lives the life like Puffy.
I just hope he wore sunscreen this time. That's all I hope.
He
didn't wear a shirt, I'll tell you.
He was a little red.
A little.
He's definitely red, shirtless, and drunk right now. Let's get to the week that was, brought to you by idrinkcoffee.com.
Let's discuss the week that was with James Duthie and the Rubber Boots Podcast crew.
I'm going to guess that it's Friday by the time you're listening to us here on the Rubber Boots Pod, and you've probably been inundated with 5 days of Kobe Bryant coverage. We're taping this on Monday just before I leave for Super Bowl, so it's still fresh in our minds. But we'll try not to talk about it too long. But it was awful. It was an awful day. I know Stoff texted me. I'd seen the same thing. I was actually when we went down to Guelph, I was having lunch with my daughter. And, that's it makes you hits home more, right?
Of course.
I was thinking how lucky I am to have this girl who's doing well, who's 18 years old, who's at university, who's living the life. And that's what bothered me about this thing more than anything else. Much respect to Kobe. I think I admired him as much as everybody else did. He was just a stone cold killer on the basketball court. I admired what he was doing in his life he's really just started his life with his family afterwards.
Yeah.
But for his daughter to be involved, anybody who has kids at all, anybody who has little girls, that was a tough one to handle.
Very, very tough. You know what? I'll start off by saying that I was never a huge Kobe Bryant fan at all. I admired him, and when he had his last game, I was watching and the whole bit.
That was remarkable, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the one time I remember the 81-point game, but you're a bit of a Raptors fan, so that was a bit ugly. But that last game, I was texting with buddies going, I can't believe this is happening right now. I think it was probably Puffy. Like, that was an unbelievable game.
Oh, yeah. I had the morning show the next day, and I stayed up and watched that.
Right. It was unbelievable. Go ahead. Sorry, Lester.
But you get this news, and it's just like, it was such a gut punch. And it wasn't like, again, I'm not this huge fan or anything like that, but I was like, this is an iconic individual,
We're sad because they're so present in our lives.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
We've watched them do all these things. We're all sports fans, and they've been around basically our entire adult lives, a guy like Kobe, right? He's been present in our life, in the media, wherever it may be. And he's what everybody, the kind of athlete winning championships like that you've always aspired to be. Stoff is wearing the Kobe jersey right now. You were a huge Kobe guy, weren't you?
Yeah, it was an awful day yesterday, but just the other thing is Kobe, like you said, was getting started with the second chapter of his life. A lot of it was family, but whatever he was going to do next, whether it was in media or whatnot, you knew that with his work ethic and the way he approached things, he was going to, he still had, a lot ahead of him, I think. So
I think a guy who changed a lot, like he was so competitive that I think a lot of people didn't like him early on.
Early on, it turned the people off for sure.
This young guy, who you think you are.
But people who knew him well always said he was a very kind guy. And, some of the stories that have come out since have been something else. Just a buddy of mine, Jeff Dykeman, my agent actually, and golfing buddy, one of his good friends owns a car service. And the car service was hired to drive all the NBA players around during the All-Star game in Toronto. And this driver told him, he said he drove almost every player, and only one guy spent the entire ride asking him about his own family, about his heritage, about his education, and who tipped him, and that was Kobe Bryant. So a really worldly, I think the Italian and Spanish, a real worldly guy.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, by the way. I found that out yesterday. I had no idea he spoke all these different languages.
Yeah, raised in Italy with him. Anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on that. We miss you, Kobe. And one thing I wanted to bring up, though, it did take me back. The thing that took me back to most was Lady Di's death.
Yeah.
And I just think, even though it's completely different walks of life, I think in the celebrity, in the fact that they were both in their primes, even though Kobe's done his career, still in his prime as a person, and just the popularity worldwide of those figures reminded me, and the circumstance of the accident reminded me a lot of Lady Di. And I was in Vancouver. I remember I was I just moved to Vancouver from Ottawa, and my wife and I were trying to get a apartment, and we were being interviewed by these people for their apartment. And that's when the news came on, and we ended up staying like 6 hours at these people's apartment just watching the news coverage because it was so shocking.
Well, I remember that day. That day for me, I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I'd left her place, and I came home, and she called me, and I said, "Yeah, I got home okay." And she's like, "No, turn on the TV." And I go, "What channel?" And she goes, "All of them." And it was Lady Di's death. Very, very tragic, and it still is. To speak to that type of feeling, the last time I felt that way was when Prince passed away. And the same type of thing, same worldwide thing. Last night I watched a little bit of the Grammys. Of course, they're coming from the Staples Center, so again,
Alicia Keys was unreal.
She was fantastic last night. Very, very good. Everybody was great last night.
Well, I guess musicians would hit you. We were just... Michael Jackson happened at the NHL draft. I think on the draft floor, like Ryan Rashog or someone told me, or Darren Drager. But how many moments are there that stick in your mind, the whole where were you when moments? Because sadly, I think we usually remember the tragedies. Because if it's a sporting event, if it's a sporting event or something that happens, you're just watching it. And you might remember where you were when Joe Carter hit his home run or something like that, right?
Course,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, but there's not many because you're usually sitting in front of your TV. But with
you
tragedies,
know that's coming. Yeah.
So are those the ones that stick out to you? I don't remember Prince. Where I was, I had to be coached on Michael Jackson. I knew it was somewhere when I was on the road. Lady Di, definitely. 9/11, I think all of us will remember, right? Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was in class and someone burst into the room and told us what happened.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I was working back in the old building at TSN. I was there. I
have
was driving on the way here when I found out. Howard
I have
Stern.
an amazing Payne Stewart. I remember because
Yes.
because that was a prolonged story, and the first reports were a plane is flying through the sky with no pilot. Basically, everybody's knocked out. And it's funny, I have a weird connection to David Amber. You don't have to beep him this time. Our golfing buddies. So I was with him. We just finished a round of golf, and we're driving home and heard the Payne Stewart thing on the radio. On 9/11. Dave was golfing at Angus Glen, which is right next to my house, and called me and said, did something happen?
Yeah.
And then yesterday, for whatever reason, I guess he's the first guy I thought of because I know that he covered basketball a lot, and I texted him right away with the TMZ story, and I guess was the first to tell him. So Dave and I've got to stay away from each other because we're always connected on tragedies.
If I could say very quickly, and not to use this to have a platform for our network, but Rod Black and Tessa Bonhomme yesterday fronted some coverage yesterday. Phenomenal stuff, and I want to shout out as well. And Josh
Lewinberg and Bruce Arthur.
Bruce Arthur was there.
Thank you. And I also want to send a special shout out to our former colleague Cabby, because Cabby knew Kobe very well, and he was great. Cabby was gracious enough to phone in yesterday, but clearly very emotional.
I texted Cabby as soon as he got off the air and just told him I was proud of him and how hard that was, and he was all upset because he said I wasn't prepared for that and I didn't, I lost it. And I said, buddy, this is not the time where you have to be this polished professional.
No, not at all.
This is a time that you show your emotion, and I think the relationship that he and Kobe had said a lot about Cabby, how likable the guy is,
100%.
and also a lot about Kobe to take a guy in like that. On the media part, and you're right about all our people did a fantastic job. Little soapbox for a second. The one thing that really, really pissed me off is just how bad reporting of stories like this has become in the age of Twitter and such. How many people were wrong on Sunday? First of all, TMZ, I know you serve a purpose, but you're horrible to report something. You know that Vanessa, I'm going to guess, and if it's out by the time you listen to this and I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but that's how she found out. I'm going to guess, right? That's
probably
how most of his friends found out. That's not right.
No, it's not
right. But that's the world we're living in, and TMZ is usually right. I will say that about them. They're not wrong often, but it's still not right.
Well, it's funny we mentioned Michael Jackson because that's the day they became legitimate. They were the first to report it, and they were right.
Yeah. They're legitimate in the sense that they're accurate. But it's still,
it's poor taste.
Not the right thing to do.
It's not the right thing to do.
And we learned a lesson in our business. I was not one of these people, but when Pat Burns died, there was a lot of people who falsely reported that. And I think that you should not be in a hurry to report someone's death.
No,
ever.
definitely not.
And then there were so many wrong reports about who was on the helicopter and who wasn't on the helicopter. And Rick Fox was on there, and all his daughters were on there. None of his daughters were on there.
Terrible.
And no one ever remembers who they heard the breaking news from or whatever.
No, who cares?
I don't understand what the rush is.
And here's the other thing to everybody listening: don't retweet that stuff yet until it's a legitimate news organization.
100%.
Right? Just wait, because even if you retweet this and say I hope it's not true, you're still spreading it around. And I know the feeling like that. There's an urge to do that, but don't. Just don't. Anyway,
listen. I have good friends of mine that posted false information, and and it's my sensitivity of being in this business. But at the same time, I want to take every one of them and go, just give your head a shake. What are you doing?
Don't scoop anything on a tragedy. It's just it's not worth it. Sorry, we've been really serious today, but hey, that was a rough time, and I'm as I said, I'm sorry if you've are tired of the sadness from 4 days of Kobe coverage when you listen to this. This is our Super Bowl preview. We better get to that.
Super Bowl preview.
Dun, Super Bowl preview. Rubber Boots podcast. My Niners. By the time you listen to this, I'll be 3 days into covering the Niners, the Super Bowl. Hopefully, I'll have been professional. You guys can grade me next week when I get back from the Super Bowl. Do you think I will be able to handle it?
I know you'll be able to handle it, but I would.
I think you might run onto the field during the deciding moment in the game.
Would that be
like, let's say KC's down by 4 points and Mahomes is running down the sideline,
and I'm the guy who steps out and trips him?
You can,
What would happen to me if that happened? I would lose my job?
Oh, 100%.
But the podcast
would go through the roof.
buddy.
Do you think that it would become
Because
we'd have to change the name.
We'd have the exclusive interview.
The I Trip Mahomes podcast. We just changed the name.
Yeah.
And that,
It'll still be a more positive thing than the rubber boots guy, possibly.
lots of feedback on the rubber boots guy. Like, people seem to be, and I'm curious about this, obsessed. I had numerous tweets and Instagram messages saying, I need more information on the rubber boots guy.
Right.
They've become fascinated with the case.
Well, you wonder.
It's like making a murder.
Yeah, you wonder as well if people have unknowingly dealt with this guy and didn't realize it, right?
Well, now, how do you unknowingly deal with the right?
Oh, no. I say unknowingly, but it's a one brief encounter, and they completely forgot about it until this resurrected the memory in their head, right? So
also, numerous people asking why the Rubber Boots song, because this has kind of resurrected the popularity of the Rubber Boots song.
Yes.
Why is it not on iTunes? Brian Moreton, sorry, Brian. Joshua Marshall. Boom, get it on the iTunes, Lester.
all right, I'll put it on iTunes.
All right. We could be missing a major revenue source, Stoff?
Yeah, but let's say the Rubber Boots Guy song blows up, and then 5 years from now, this Rubber Boots Guy resurfaces and thinks he's owed certain royalty.
Ooh, but that's we'll already be on the I Trip Pat Mahomes podcast by then.
Very true.
We'll be loaded.
Just to set the record straight, he's entitled to nothing. He didn't write anything. James and I wrote that tune.
That's right, damn straight. Although he did provide the lyrics, a lot of them, because those were the things he said to me. I'm going to make my one prediction.
We'll edit that part out.
Super Bowl prediction.
All right.
And a quick story. When the Niners and Bengals were in that one Super Bowl where the Niners drove down the field in the last minute and John Taylor got the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
A young Jimmy, what year would that have been? Check out Niners, Bengals, the second time they met.
I want to say 89.
Yeah, I'm terrible with years. Somewhere in that.
No, am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong.
Somewhere in that ballpark. So a young Jimmy used to call in the radio station in Ottawa sometimes.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the business just yet. And they were doing Super Bowl preview. And I phoned in and said, guys, everybody's focusing on Jerry Rice. I'm going to make a prediction that John Taylor is going to make a big play in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Nobody remembered, but that was a proud little moment that may have propelled Jimmy's broadcasting career.
Well, you as we said, I pointed out last week, you've also made a prediction about the Niners being in the Super Bowl.
Right. So that made me legit. That was probably an 18, 19-year-old Jimmy. Did you find the year yet or no?
That is 1989.
Wow.
1989 was correct.
Okay, so that's the year that, I'm
That's
The
not
88 season. But
That's not the
89
Steve Young year, is
I'm a
it?
teenager, and I call it, no, that's Joe Montana.
That's Montana still,
That's
right?
the year that Joe Montana, they got in the huddle. There's, $1.41 or something left. They have to score a touchdown to win the Super Bowl. And on a TV timeout, Joe Montana apparently says to the guys, hey, look up there, it's John Candy. John Candy was in the crowd. And Niners guys always tell that story to how cool Joe Montana is.
Yeah.
They're all freaking out. They got a touchdown drive, and Joe Montana says, hey, look at John Candy. Don't know if that's true. That might be fiction, but that's the story that's told. Anyway, I only tell that story to say, prediction, if the Niners win, or whether they win or not, Deebo Samuel, rookie receiver, everybody talks about the Niners running game. I believe that somewhere along the way, Deebo Samuel will play a major factor in the Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl this weekend.
Wow.
Will you be able to edit that out on Sunday?
Yes, absolutely. We'll post it after.
Let's do a few more. I'm going to do a few more.
Perfect.
I believe George Kittle will make the play that decides the Super Bowl. I believe Raheem Mostert makes the play that decides the Super Bowl.
Very plausible so far. You want to go a little more far out?
Robbie Gould will score 4 touchdowns to win the Super Bowl. Keep all those in mind. Cut them all out.
Will do.
Except for the one that's accurate.
I got one.
What?
I believe that both 49ers quarterbacks will get hurt, and Steve Young will have to suit up to lead the final drive down to victory for the 49ers.
What a
Go
story.
ahead.
Do they have an emergency quarterback like they have emergency goalies in the National Hockey League?
There's usually a wide receiver or someone who's sometimes played quarterback at some level before. So
Book plug. I'm still working on my book, which is out in the fall, which is a book of great hockey stories. I have a title for it, but I'm kind of keeping it under wraps for now. Interviewed on the weekend, Scott Foster. Let's see off the top of your head if you can come up with who Scott Foster is.
Scott, I have no idea.
Scott Foster was the emergency goalie who went in for the Chicago Blackhawks
Oh my God.
against the Winnipeg Jets and made 7 saves, 7 for 7. And I've always been fascinated. From the time that happened, I said, I'd like to do something on Scott Foster, whether it's a TV feature or something someday. And but he didn't do many interviews. He's an accountant. And basically did the interviews that night. You should look up his scrum online. He was fantastic. He's a really smart guy and funny and self-deprecating. And then kind of disappeared. He didn't want to do. He had, everybody wanted him on talk shows and stuff, and he was just like, I just want to live a normal life again.
Yeah.
Right?
Good for him.
And so I spent, 2.5 hours with Scott on Saturday, and I'm really going to tell his whole story, like how, growing up hockey, dreaming of playing the NHL, where his dream went wrong, how does he end up, as an emergency beer league goalie, and the story of that day, which I find incredibly fascinating.
That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating that, he would be able to have that big moment and just say, okay, that's good. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he
And to not cling onto it whatsoever, that's crazy.
And that's so much of what our society is about now, I think.
Yeah. That's what I said to him. Any other guy in your position is going to take advantage of this, make as much money as possible, be going to bars for a couple of $1,000 to cash in. He wanted no part of that. The only thing he considered was the Ellen Show. They called, and because he had 2 young daughters and a wife who watched the show, he said they wanted to bring his whole family on.
Yeah.
And he said, that's the one I'll do. And then the weekend went by, and the news cycle changed, and they didn't want him back. Which is, I think those things happen, right? The next day, it's like this massive story, and then it's gone.
Right.
But really, really nice guy from Ontario, and I am going to do him justice and tell his story in detail in the book. So,
Can you imagine that happened to Puffy?
Oh,
He'd be milking that to this
Oh
very
my
day.
goodness!
This would be the I subbed in for a goalie podcast.
Yeah, 100%. But just a couple of quick stories about Scott from that story. First of all, like he wasn't allowed to go up for warm up or sit on the bench. They wouldn't. So he just sat in the back room, the players' lounge, off the dressing room, watching the game in full gear.
Right.
And Jonathan Taves is there because he's hurt in his suit, and Corey Crawford's in his suit, and they're sitting there just watching the game together. And he's really not paying any attention. And then Delia, who's the goalie, so Forsberg was their first goalie, gets hurt playing soccer in the warm-up. And then Colin Delia is the backup, makes his first NHL start. That was a big night for him, and gets dehydrated and cramps.
oh my God.
And so basically he's keeled over in the net. And I think the players, like Taves and those guys, thought he'd gotten hit in the you-know-what.
yeah.
So they were kind of laughing. Oh, Colin took one in the...
Pisneris.
Yeah, and Scott was watching the game. It's like, that's not what happened. And then some guy comes running down the hall and says, "You're in." And he goes to grab his stick, and then he realizes the shaft of his stick. It's all his gear. They don't get NHL gear.
Yeah.
He's brought his gear from beer league.
Yeah.
And his stick has a big crack down the shaft. And then he steps on the ice and he goes, "Oh crap!" He'd meant to get his skate sharpened the night before. He hadn't had them sharpened in a month, and said, "I'll just do it Saturday." So his skates were completely,
my God.
completely raw. So he gets in the net.
crazy.
He gets in the net. The 2 guys come out to warm him up every second. Like, he can't get the cadence of NHL shooters.
Yeah.
They score 6 out of 12.
Jesus.
And they're trying to shoot it at his rubber. They score 6 out of 12, and they're like, you need some more shots, and he's like, just go. But he made some fantastic saves. He was the first star of the game, and it's almost like, and I said it to him, he's very downplays it, but it's kind of like Rudy,
Yeah.
right? Here's a guy who wants to play NHL hockey his entire life. He doesn't really come close.
Except he plays a bigger role than Rudy did.
He does. Like, Rudy got in for one play. And if
Yeah.
you watch, like, the real Rudy tape online, they don't even make a big deal out of it. The crowd is not chanting Rudy.
yeah.
No.
And the play-by-play
Hollywood.
guy doesn't even know what happens. They just say,
Yeah.
and sack, and that's the game over, and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like, you could make a film out of Scott's story. I don't know if there's enough drama in his life beforehand, but there really wasn't any in Rudy's either. They just played it up.
Yeah.
We'd have to create, the
Yeah, we'll write
screenwriters
it,
would have to
Wow.
create.
Yeah.
We'll have to create the Scott Foster story. But anyway, that's one of the chapters
Right
coming
after
up in
we
the book.
do Evil Harvest.
That's right.
We'll get around to it.
Let's do an episode of a little thing we call What You Watching.
What you watching? Just between you and me, what you're streaming on your TV, let me see what you're watching. Action, drama, comedy, what you're streaming on your TV.
So Saturday night, Brooksy and I sit down for a little date night, a little
Nice.
Netflix date night, or Apple TV.
Sorry.
Well, I'd been sick for a week.
Oh,
I was starting to feel better.
right on.
Maybe if you weren't driving the left lane, you would have got some.
We'd had a little vino. I don't want to go any further. 2 movies come up on the Apple TV. The Joker, which I haven't seen yet, so I'm like, oh, we're going to watch Joker. And then she's like, well, look at this one, Parasite. So Parasite's got a 99% Rotten Tomatoes rating. So Brooksy's like, I want to watch this thing. Brooksy's really into the Rotten Tomatoes. She trusts Rotten Tomatoes more than me. And so we watched Parasite, which is a Korean subtitled film and is the most messed up movie I've seen in a long time.
Wow.
6 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, which they say it might win. And I don't really know. I don't want to do any spoilers here, but I would recommend you. I want you guys to watch it just for the sake of talking about it on this podcast. I liked it only in the sense that it's the most messed up film I've seen in a long time. I love going to the movies and you're going, what the hell just happened? Which Pulp Fiction was kind of like the first time you saw that.
Right.
There was a movie called Five Corners with John Turturro and Jodie Foster a long time ago that I felt that way about. It was just completely messed up. David Lynch movies.
Right. Oh,
This is kind of like a David Lynch movie. Maybe not quite as weird, but it's basically about a really poor Korean family whose one son gets a job as a tutor at a really rich Korean family that's a little bit messed up house. And then they kind of all work their way in there to jobs, and then it goes completely and utterly off the rails. Like, I would suggest if you're into the edibles, that you have a couple beforehand and then watch this movie.
wow. Oh, boy.
But it is
Probably how it was written.
very funny, very dark,
Okay.
and messed up. I won't give it like a 10 out of 10. I wouldn't say that. I'd say like an 8. But I need you guys to watch it.
I thought this
for
was
the
going to be
sake
like a
of it.
movie about an outbreak of some sort.
No,
Yes,
it's not.
well,
I don't know
yes.
why it's even called Parasite. I don't know why.
Well, maybe because they let the first guy into their home. And then,
Yeah, it's a messed up film. But
Now, would you say somebody like me would have to be in a certain mood
maybe
to watch that?
Yeah, you
film?
might hate it.
Yeah.
Like I sat there for an hour going, this is kind of cute. Like it's well shot, so it's beautifully directed, and you're like, okay, but I think it just gets your curiosity of where is this thing going to go?
Well, you see, for me, when I sit down to watch various movies, I have to be in a frame of mind where I'm ready to do the work in my mind.
Well,
If it's a-
especially
if
when you're
it's-
doing
if it's-
subtitles.
And if it's a mind bend, right, like that
Yeah.
seems to be,
Oh,
I
it's
got to be
not-
ready to do that work.
Okay, I don't think you. It's not like what's the movie with all the dreams? In the
Inception.
DiCaprio movie,
Inception, yeah.
So you had to really think of that movie, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. You have
This
to-
is easier to follow. You're
yeah,
saying.
it's not like one of those. You just have to let yourself go and say, where the hell is this crazy thing going? And it's what if look. I've been thinking about it for 2 days, which is usually a sign of a good movie.
Yeah.
Like when it was over, I was like, that was just messed up. But when I'm thinking about it 2 days later, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
So Parasite, I would recommend it to you, and you guys can give me some feedback. If you hate it, that's fine. I remember I went to see what's the Jay Baruchel, Seth Rogen, The End of the World movie.
This is the end.
We saw that at the Stanley Cup Final in Chicago. The entire panel went out and saw that movie. And I don't know if we were just in the mood or if we'd had wine at dinner, but it was just hilarious.
It
we
was
couldn't
very
stop
funny.
laughing.
It was very funny.
So Steve Levy and Barry Melrose from ESPN are at the final. I'm like, you guys got to go see this movie. So he's like, perfect. Steve Levy texts me, goes, that's the worst effing movie I've ever seen in my life. So I hesitate to recommend films, but I'd be curious to what you think about
Each his
Parasite.
own.
I do wonder if there's a difference between Canadian and American humor too, right? Because
Oh yeah, there was something Canadian about
there was definitely something very Canadian about that movie.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think part of it is also when you tell someone to go watch a movie, it sets a certain expectation in their
yes.
mind that
I know.
Can
it's maybe less likely to meet.
You mentioned Barry Melrose, and I immediately think he was. I don't know what his last coaching job. I think it was Tampa Bay, and they fired him like
Yeah.
16 games in.
He said Stamkos couldn't play in the NHL. Yeah.
I hope they never win another game. He said that at the time.
He's
I just
a
thought it
really
was
great
funny.
dude, but it was that wasn't the best. Steve Stamkos just can't play. He can't score at an NHL level.
Oh
I think
my gosh.
was his quote. Things that I saw on the Twitter.
Freaky pics, strange chicks, world affairs, polar bears, fake news, nice shoes, big boobs, jack dudes. All of these things and more as I sat on the shitter. Things that I saw on Twitter.
I promised you guys that I was going to only do about 15, 20 minutes with you today and do the rest from the Super Bowl. I think we've done enough today that I don't even have to do anything from Super Bowl. I can just take the whole damn week off down
I
there,
don't think I don't think the fans would like that.
Yeah, I think we want the exclusives.
I want that.
Who do you want to hear from? Jabari Greer, we usually do something with every year, a fine analyst, but Luke
Luke
Wilson is down with us this year.
Yes.
Would you like to hear from Luke?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe a little Luke Wilson interview?
Yeah, see what he has
Andy
to say.
Reid.
Puffy would like that. Well, I probably can't get Andy
No,
Reid.
but if you do like a
I probably can't get Jimmy
unique
Garoppolo.
angle on Andy Reid, like that time he was in that punt pass kick competition.
That
with
is still
little
one of
children.
the that's still one of the funniest pieces of video out
It's
there.
incredible. It really is.
And by the way, no one can remember if he won or not.
Yeah,
like they can't
exactly.
find if he won or not, which you think he would have a record somewhere.
Yeah.
He's literally 3 feet taller than them all.
yeah, and like 300 pounds heavier.
Did you guys have a kid? Did you have a kid in your school that
Not
had,
that size,
had the
no.
puberty before everybody else?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
His name was Chad. Oh my God, I can't remember what his last name was, but Chad. Oh my God, big dude.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. He had like a beard in grade 6.
Oh, I know. Mine was Joey Funai.
Yeah.
So Emily Carr Middle School, grades 6, 7, and 8, and Joey Funai had a beard, basically. And I can remember we had this gym teacher named Max Mozion, who was a big, tough, like pretty ripped gym teacher. He was probably only 35 at the time, and a real tough guy. And he was teaching us wrestling. And I don't know, whatever happened, he was showing a move or something, and Funai was getting in trouble, and they started actually wrestling. Like it was like a fight, but wrestling.
Yeah.
And Funai had him down.
Yeah.
And Max couldn't get up. And I'm like, whoa, this is a grade 7 or
I
something
know.
that's pinned this
Well,
teacher
yeah.
down on the ground.
That's exactly it. It happens.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that Eddie Reid video is nuts.
Eric Stone Street is my pick for
Who am I going to
your
get?
interview. Yeah,
I'm going to try my damnedest. If we land Stone Street this week, it's a success.
absolutely.
So things that I saw on Twitter is brought to you by iDrinkCoffee.com, even though I said the week that was brought to you by iDrinkCoffee.com. They're both brought to you by the Weimara. A lot of hockey players at the Weimara Stoff
Over the
during
break.
the break. It was nothing but hockey players down there. Bruce was sending me pics. Matt Duchesne,
Nice.
a whole bunch of other guys
nice.
down at our resort.
Too bad we couldn't make it.
No, we couldn't make it down. We'll have to get down for bye week next year. Might have to be our return trip down there, and then we can just land all these exclusives.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Because there's nothing that hockey players want on their vacation when they're down with their girl than to talk with us chumps on the beach.
Record a podcast.
Things that I saw on Twitter, I wanted to mention locusts. I don't know why, but when we were in Africa, Gracie and I, a couple of weeks ago, there was a lot of talk of locusts.
Yes.
They didn't hit Ethiopia where we were. But I wanted to give you guys some locust facts today because that's what this pod is about. If it's not called the I Trip Mahomes pod, why don't we call it Locust Facts?
Look out for the locust.
Locust.
Look out for the locusts. Only because I became obsessed with locusts while I was in Africa. Just because I've never really understood them. They show up at baseball games once in a while, and they make it on the top 10 list. But like, what the hell's a locust?
So
right?
a locust, like I don't actually, I'll
Yeah,
plead
that's it.
ignorance here. It's a specific type of insect.
You don't have to plead ignorance. People have been listening to us for 4 years.
I don't know. People are going to start tweeting in their locust facts.
Although they think that you're probably the smartest one of us. Yeah, locust, there's a particular insect. I guess it is a locust is the actual word for the insect, I guess. It's not...
See, I used to think locust was something that just happened when there was
Yeah.
a swarm of
I thought
insects.
Oh no!
I
I,
thought
always knew was the specific bug.
I thought the
Look at
locust
you.
was... I thought the locust... I'm with
Was the
Stoff.
swarm.
The swarm.
Okay.
But I guess locusts only exist in swarms, so that would be an easy mistake. So the locust is about a finger-length little bug, but they exist
Whose
in these
finger?
swarms.
I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
Matambo.
It's almost figured. Here's the locust facts, because I was like, how big are these locusts when they show up at games? And if they're destroying all the crops of Africa, they have to be big. So basically, a single swarm could contain 150 million locusts.
Oh my God!
And they could have an area, 250 football fields. So you imagine there's nothing, and that's just like bugs, the whole thing. 250, like a kilometer square of locusts. A kilometer square
There's
of
nowhere to go.
locusts.
There's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go to get away from the locusts. The largest swarm in Kenya measured 60 kilometers long by 40 kilometers wide. One locust thing. So that's like a gazillion locusts.
One swarm.
So they need to spray and kill all these locusts. Now, the locusts can cover up to 150 kilometers a day in the winds, depending on the winds. They look like tiny aircrafts crisscrossing the sky. Not tiny if they go 100 kilometers wide. That can't be right.
But hold on, how do they know that? Are they tracking individual locusts?
There's a locust measurer guy. He's got a measuring tape, and he runs out in the locusts. And he's like, "Hold it, honey, hold it," and then come back, and then I got to go to the next length.
Oh my God!
I don't know, but they got ways. Google Earth. They probably track the locusts through Google Earth.
I would imagine. I mean, it's funny. I never thought about them in terms of anything except being bugs, and they're disgusting. But I'm sure that a swarm of locusts will do quite a bit of damage.
They'll eat the entire thing. They eat all the animal food. It's a major crisis actually in Africa. This has been episode 1 of Locust Talk. If you want us to bring it back, we've really diversified this year. We went from the Rubber Boots Pod to Island Time, which is a raging success in the Caribbean. They're demanding more. Another thing Bruce told me.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Edit points. We had I Trip Pat Mahomes, and now Locust Talk.
Locust Talk.
Spin-offs. We need to have a podcast company so we can have spin-off podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe the Rubber Boots could be the company
Rubber
name.
Boots Company.
That
Rubber
is
Boots Podcast
umbrella,
Company.
yeah.
What is
Yes,
that?
yeah.
Bill Simmons, what's his thing called?
Ringer?
The Ringer?
Yeah.
They got a lot of podcasts.
Will be the booter.
What else did you have from things that I saw on Twitter?
Well, James, the Doomsday Clock is getting closer and closer to midnight.
Yeah.
If anyone's interested in that.
I think that's pretty self-evident by what's going on in the world.
But I don't really know how they're tracking it and so forth.
Who
but
runs the Doomsday Clock? Is it the same guy that measures the width of the locusts?
I don't know. It's a bunch of scientists, and the Doomsday Clock is used to illustrate threats to humanity and the planet.
Right. What are we at?
So we're at 90 seconds to midnight. So if you want a little bit of history, I wrote it down here. In the 70s, we were 10 minutes to midnight.
Okay, what is if everything was really hunky-dory, would it just be like noon?
Yeah, I would assume so. I think midnight's the end. That's what they're kind of getting at.
But was it ever noon?
No, I don't. The earliest I found is the
11
70s. It
PM?
was 10 minutes.
Okay.
No, so it was 11:50.
10-2.
Then in the 80s, it was 7 minutes. 2008, 5 minutes. 2018, 2 minutes. And now we're at 90 seconds.
Wow.
We still got some time.
Yeah, I know. It's been like 40 years or
Right.
50 years.
Right? Dog ears.
Let me ask you something.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
You know for sure it's going to all
is
come to
the
an
Puffy's
end.
hypothetical?
Yes, hypothetical.
All right.
Puffy's hypotheticals. Okay, yeah, so.
Yeah.
You got
By the way,
9
was all these hypotheticals a hit? Remember
you
you
know what?
recorded it? Has it gone crazy
You know
on
what?
iTunes, or are people just waiting for the Rubber Boots guys?
Here's what I'm doing now.
All these hypotheticals.
Here's what I'm doing. I want to do video for it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Can we be in
that's
it?
the main thing. Yes.
Can I be the girl?
You want to be the girl? You can be the girl.
The love
I'm fine.
interest.
I would love you to be in the video, and I'm sure our listeners would agree.
Can it be like a rap video where you're at your pad? We're the scantily clad people around the rapper.
I think we should get more out of the barbershop quartet outfits.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
maybe bring that in.
Bring those in.
Hypotheticals.
You
That'd
know.
be the worst video
Anyway.
ever.
We just look like butlers walking around.
Monkey butlers?
You know, 90. You have this Doomsday Clock. You know it's all over. Let's say you have 24 hours.
Who are you calling? You're calling Brandy. I know that.
I'm not called, but what would you do? What would you like if you had one
24
thing?
hours to live.
Yes.
Play 4 rounds of golf. Brooks would be really unhappy about that. That's a great question. I mean, you'd want to make the love at some point along the way.
Yeah.
But you do,
Yeah,
in
but
the
you'd
end,
still after that you'd still have
I have 23 hours and 58, 30, 90 seconds. 90 seconds till doomsday.
It's my fault. I couldn't do the math in my head, but I wanted to.
If it's really 90 seconds till doomsday, we can still get it in. You know what? I guess I do. You just want to spend time with your family, but what would you do? Just sit around staring at each other? It would be weird if you really knew the end of the world was
I
happening.
think I would just get to the 23rd hour and think I wasted 23 hours.
You'd produce the pod, though, right? If there was one still hanging out there that we had to get out.
I don't know if I'd get it done in
We
time.
had to get it out there.
Who's listening? Call over.
What would you do, Lester?
you
Would
know
you play
what?
a gig? Would you pick up your
Yeah,
guitar?
maybe you play a gig and you just get together with people and just have a party, and that's it. And whatever goes. You know?
Do you think you would think it would be an orgy?
I don't know if it would be an orgy, but I think there'd be sex.
Didn't we season 2 discuss how if we would attend an orgy together or something?
Yes, we did.
If
What did we decide?
If a listener invited us to an orgy,
Would we all come?
Will we all participate? Will we all participate?
Would we all participate?
Say that again?
yeah. Well, would we?
well, let's hope.
What would be your last meal?
Oh, God. I would probably go with a nice roast beef dinner, I think.
Roast beef.
Yeah.
That would be my last choice. Like
Yeah,
you could,
what would you get?
Well, I mean, I'd have maybe a good steak, but not roast beef. Cheeseburger, maybe a little side of mac and cheese, maybe lobster mac and cheese with a cheeseburger or a steak. Had a little mac and cheese down at Guelph on the weekend. Comfort food, very good.
Yeah. Was it like right out of the box? Or?
Yeah, for dessert, I would have some form of pie or like coconut cream pie or lemon meringue pie, raspberry crumble.
Sour cream and onion chips with some dip, man. Some beef jerky, some peanut butter. Get some Haagen-Dazs ice cream bars, a whole lot of hot. Make sure chocolate. Gotta have chocolate, man. Some popcorn, red popcorn, graham crackers.
You've thought about this.
I'm thinking about
I'm
it
thinking
now.
about it now, yeah.
Drink. Mick Ultra. Just keep those carbs down. I don't know. What about you, Stoff?
I'd go sushi for sure.
Really? You love the sushi,
Love
eh?
the sushi.
And
then
spicy? Would it be a spicy tuna?
Hey.
I'd get a variety. I like a nice variety I can pick at.
If I could interject very quickly, that lobster sushi we had in
Spectacular.
Weimar was
Oh,
so
it's
good.
great, yeah.
I love that. I really enjoyed that. I'm not a sushi guy. Continue, please, Stoff.
Well, I would just go sushi and chase it down with a net. Really enjoy my last couple hours.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'd do the cocaine for the first time if I was going to go.
Wow.
Break the Len bias rule.
Break the Len bias
You
rule.
know, I'll tell you. I mean, it's funny. You got to think. And it's funny. We, not to bring it back to our, Kobe, but I wonder how many people will look at that and go, "Hey, listen, I'm wasting my time, and I'm just going to do what I need to do."
You know
what
what's
I mean?
funny is
Good or bad?
every time there is a tragic death, we all do that, right? And that's the right way to respond.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing
You think
wrong.
about your own mortality.
You think about your mortality. You think about not worrying about the little things in life, and whether it's a celebrity dying or someone close to you dying in an accident. It always happens, and then we always end up sort of going back to our own ways as it fades away.
I have a similar thing when I come back from vacation. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to have a much more relaxed approach to things. And then
You can't.
20 minutes into the 401.
And that's
I'm
okay.
done.
I don't, like life gets in the way, right? You can't. There's nothing wrong with any of us that we do that, but But I think we hopefully maybe you take a few things forward. You try. You don't want tragedies to happen to remind you of these things, and you shouldn't take them to remind you of these things. But I guess that's the little bit of good that comes out of them.
Well,
I suppose.
it's funny.
Absolutely.
We meant you referenced 9/11 earlier, and my brother lives in New York, so 9/11 happens. He gets back to New York, and New York is the nicest place in the world in September, in October, and by the time they get to November or
Right.
Black Friday, it's right back to normal.
There's occasionally people that completely change, that have a traumatic incident and completely change because of it. But I think in general, you are what you are, and you can modify your behavior a little bit here and there. But it's okay. It's okay to get mad in traffic. Of
course it is.
It's okay to get mad when your Eagles lose.
Yeah. Still got that Super Bowl from 2 years ago.
Sorry to bring it there. And that's why I'll be fine when the Niners, I'll be a little upset, but I'll be fine, right? Perspective on life. I feel we're pretty heavy this week, so for all the listeners, we'll be idiots again next week, I promise. Maybe when Puffy's around, maybe it takes us to a new, when he's not around, we're a little more mature.
Well, I was about to
Don't you
say,
think?
if the quality
I've
of
never
the...
thought about that, but now that you mention it,
Yeah,
right? It's
interesting.
adding up.
I think this was we talked about locusts.
Do you think
we talked about death? We
Yes.
talked about the end of the world.
Right?
We're
Do you
heavier.
think we bring the immaturity out of Puff? Is that what it is?
No, I think he brings it out of us.
Definitely.
fair.
No doubt. So wherever you are down in Curacao, Puffy, hopefully we'll see you next week on the Rubber Boots Puff.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I'm wrapping this up, but hopefully I'll have Super Bowl material for you guys. If I don't, then
Andy Reid coming up next.
up next, my sit down with Eric Stonestreet and Andy Reid. with my Super Bowl analyst, Luke Willson, who was one of my analysts a couple of years ago, and then he broke up with me, and now he's returned because they always do come back in the end, don't they?
No doubt. That's what I said. I was telling my guys, I'm like, dude, I need to get linked up with JD, man.
Yeah, exactly. I know you get sick of asking about it, but I posted a shot of us on the Instagram machine, and had a lot of comments about your hair. So maybe you can describe it for us.
I'm in a rough place with it right now, man. You know, it's not all. There's a lot of work that I don't want to do, like combing it. Like it's like I have to comb it. Like who wants to do that?
Well, then why you can cut it if you want.
So there is a story behind this. It's one of those ordeals where I had it longer, not this long, but longer in the past, and I was having some good NFL seasons. I cut it. Next game after I cut it, first ever concussion. Next year, worst statistical year I've ever had. So then it was actually Richard Sherman came up to me and was like, hey, you realize the best years you've had long hair. So I'm like, he's got a point. I grew it long for my 5th year. Didn't have the most yards, had the most touchdowns caught. So I'm like, I'm on to something. Went to Detroit last year with long hair thinking, dude, I'm about to blow up. I might make the Pro Bowl this year. Blatantly had the worst year of my career. Just an absolute bloodbath. So that whole theory just painfully got thrown out the window. But now I'm kind of like, you know, I got the rest of my life to be like clean cut and short haired. Like, let's be a wild man.
Are you too young to remember Fabio?
I'm too young to remember him, but I get called that quite a bit, so I do know the Fabio vibe.
It's a compliment. Very sexy man.
Yeah.
Very sexy man with long hair.
We share a lot of similar characteristics.
How was it being back in Seattle? That's the place where you started your career. You like it?
It was a dream come true. Honestly, my first 5 years, I had an absolute blast. Detroit, faced some personal adversity. It wasn't the year that I kind of was hoping for. It's a strange league. Like, you get pigeonholed. You know, I was 29 coming out of Detroit, and all of a sudden that's considered like latter half of your career, which I still feel kind of young. You know, now I'm 30. I guess it's a gross number to be in the NFL, but I don't feel that bad.
It's not a gross number to be in life.
Yeah, no doubt, right? So then it was, and then the whole Oakland thing was a kind of a different experience too. But going back to, getting the opportunity to go back home in Seattle, play with those guys, win a bunch of games. Unfortunately, we came up a little short, but it was just a blast. And Pete Carroll is he's incredible.
As fun as he, because sometimes you see a guy on television, you're sitting home on your couch and you say, okay, that guy's really hyped and everything, but is it just all an act, or what do the players really think of him? You really love that guy.
I do, and honestly, what you see on television is probably a toned down version of the amount of fun we have. Like, it's support. Like, I get exactly what you're saying. Like, hey, who is this guy? What's he like behind closed doors? 24/7, he's just vibing, having a great time. He's obviously extremely competitive. A quick one, I remember my rookie year. So this is 2013. We're going into the playoffs, and the last game of the year, I had sprained my ankle. So we had the number one seeds. We had the bye for the wild card weekend. It's like 6 a.m. I'm going to get some treatment at the facility, and it's a week where we don't have a game. I'm being a typical rookie, being a bum. Just, I'm tired. It's January and December. It's been raining, and I haven't seen the sun in a week. Seattle. And I remember going up the stairs at the cafeteria before I'm going to rehab, and Pete is walking down the stairs at 5 a.m., like jittering, shaking. He's so wound up. And I'm like, what's up, coach? How we doing? And he just looked at me and goes, man, I'm ready to rock and roll, baby. Let's go. And it was like at that moment where even like just being around him, that kind of energy is like infectious. It's like 6 a.m. on a week we're going to have a game. This guy's just fired up, ready to rip. And he's always like that. And I think that's a big reason why we consistently win games in Seattle.
Only one more football question, because my podcast, we don't really actually talk about sports all that much. But Russell Willson, it's one thing to watch him on TV. To be part of that offense, what is that like?
It's a lot of fun. And what's crazy about it is, a lot of NFL offenses, you kind of know, I should get the ball here, I should get the ball there. And we obviously are like that to a degree. But you could be in a pass pro, and, obviously wideouts aren't. I could be in a pass protection, and I'm getting an explosive play, because when he starts running around, it's like backyard kind of childhood football, like get open. So you just never know. It's a lot of fun being that offense.
Yeah, that's got to be. You have to be aware on every play, right? You can't, because you never know what's going to happen.
Never know. I think of the 2-pointer against Green Bay in the NFC Championship. He was rolling out right, and I was pass blocking on the left side, doing nothing, and I end up catching it on the opposite side of the end zone. Obviously, that's an extreme case, but it's just like the chances of me ever getting a ball thrown is probably 1 in a million, and I got a ball thrown at me on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when you are done? If I'm sure you've started to think about, would you like to do this, TV more? Because you're pretty good at it. I will say that. I'm not just blowing smoke because you're on the panel. I would say the same even when you were on the other network. But what else would you like to do?
I don't know. I feel like an idiot when I'm talking to the camera, so I do appreciate that comment.
Hey, buddy, that's my entire life.
I'm just like, dude, I feel it's just a strange, when you're not used to it, it's like...
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very strange.
You do it well. You can't tell that. You're natural. I would tell you if you sucked.
Okay, I appreciate you. I appreciate that honesty. What do I want to do? So I want to take I'm one of those weirdos where I'm like, dude, I want to take like 6 months, rent a van, and just drive around, like see some cool things. But
you're a bit of like a bit of a hippie kind of
nomad.
thing, right?
But then I think that like knowing my personality, that whole idea for like 12 to 14 days, I'll be like really in it, and then I'll be like, Jesus, man, I need to go into a nice hotel or some. So I don't know if I could pull that off for the whole 6-month thing, but maybe travel around a little bit and then kind of figure it out. Like I'm obviously not gonna just do nothing the rest of my life. I'm not sure if this is it. But I don't, like, it's strange when my whole life it's been like sports, and then all of a sudden one day, which hopefully it's not that soon, but I do definitely see that it's coming up in my future, like sports are going to be over, and trips me out a little bit. But I got some boys back home in Windsor that we're all pretty tight, so they'll be able to help me out. Maybe have a couple of big night outs with the boys, and we'll just figure it out. I'll figure it out from there.
That's a way to decide a life decisions with a couple of boys.
At Loose Goose in Windsor, Ontario.
Was that your spot?
I mean, that's the local watering hole right there. I've done some inhumane things at that place.
Well, you did mention that you're more of a guy who hang out at the pub, and then you were out last night in the Miami nightlife. Is that much of your scene?
No, Miami. I did buy a fanny pack just for Miami to kind of like fit into the trendy vibe.
Is that back?
Oh, I mean, it's back. And
when people wear those out?
Yeah, it's back.
The same fanny packs that my parents wore when they went on their European trips?
It's not that exact same principle, but maybe probably a little more sleek.
Oh, like a Gucci fanny pack?
Mine's not Gucci, but yes, that sort of is the way of thinking.
Did you feel good in it?
I felt like a moron. Was that
the first time you've worn it?
Yes, in public. I wore it in the store last week.
Did you have your money in it? Like
no,
tucked in your change?
I put my wallet in there. That actually was kind of convenient because I didn't have to sit on my wallet.
Yeah, that's good.
So I was like,
put your phone in your fanny pack?
I didn't, because it's one of those things where I'll admit I'm one of those guys who's kind of on his phone a bit. So didn't like unzipping it and pulling my phone out every 5 seconds.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Wow, that just shows how
you could pull the fanny pack off?
No.
If I brought you a fanny pack, would you wear it out in Miami this week?
I have my wife and I. So I'm old, right? And my wife and I went on our honeymoon to Italy and Greece. I got married in '99, I think. I should know that.
Yeah.
And I have fanny packs in my photos, some of my honeymoon photos.
Now's the time to break them out, man.
Yeah, but mine were not. They were not good looking fanny packs.
Honestly, that might make them better. It's like vintage. Like, I've been in this game. You youngsters are just
Kids
out here.
don't know your fanny packs,
exactly.
man.
I've been in this fanny pack game.
Listen, man, I appreciate it. It's great having you this week, and I look forward to doing the Super Bowl with you.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think it's going to be a great end of the week coming up.
Why don't we wear the fanny packs post-game Super Bowl?
Say less. I'm in. You don't have to twist my arm here.
Luke Willson, Canadian tight end for the Seattle Seahawks and TSN Super Bowl analyst this week. All right, here I am, Jimmy, reporting live from Super Bowl 54. I'm at the Niners media availability. Just want to assure you all that I've been very professional. I'm not wearing my jersey or my Niners underwear. I've asked tough questions. I'm showing no favoritism. I can tell you these guys by this time of the week are absolutely sick of answering questions. So I've decided I'm just going to involve them in one of our staple segments here on the Rubber Boot Spot, and that's What You Watching. So first guy I'm going to try is the guy you might remember who I said would be the X factor in the Super Bowl, star receiver, Deebo Samuel. Guys, first of all, on the podcast last week, we had to pick a MVP for the Super Bowl. I'm not sucking up to here, but I picked you, okay? So just love there, all right?
Thank you.
I'll ask you one football question. Did you expect this much success this fast?
I mean, this season has been going by pretty fast, faster than I thought. Kind of like, you hear about the rookie wall and this, that, and the third. Like, I didn't hit that. I just been like laser focused, and Wes Welker and all the other coaches been making sure I was on top of everything for me not to hit that point.
But did you ever think year one would go this well, where you'd become this weapon and then you'd get in the Super Bowl?
I never been a guy that kind of thought ahead. I was just focused on what's in front of me at that time.
All right. Super Bowl week. Tell me something that surprised you. Was it, even away from here and the media and everything else?
Nothing really.
No, has it been boring?
I mean, we've just been chilling. We're not here to have fun. We're here to be locked in to win the Super Bowl.
Do you just sit in a hotel and besides meeting time?
Eat. No, we go eat and do little stuff, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. Anything, how many people are you going to have here on the weekend?
5.
Who would that be?
My mom, my dad, my 2 cousins, and my girl.
Who's more excited?
Mama most definitely.
Is she going through the roof crazy?
I don't know. I really ain't been talking to her much since I've been here.
How old are your cousins?
25. Both of them 25, 26. Yeah, 25, 26.
All right, let's screw the football stuff because you're bored of it. You've been asked every question all week.
What you watching? Just between you and me. What you streaming on your TV? Let me see. What you watching? Action, drama, comedy. What you streaming on your TV?
Yo, what are you watching? We have a segment on the podcast called What You Watching, where we talk about what we're watching on Netflix or whatever. What are you watching right now?
Power.
Sorry?
Power.
Is that a series? I don't even know that. Is that embarrassing?
Yeah, it's embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing.
Is it really good?
It's the #1 show in the world.
Well, now I feel really stupid because I always watch the murder reality shows and stuff. Well, okay, give me a 30-second version of Power. Sell Power to me, so when I go back to my hotel room tonight, I want to watch it.
Oh boy! I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. It's 6 seasons to the show.
Okay, I'm sorry, man. I haven't watched it.
You should definitely go see it. You should definitely start.
But give me
it.
the premise. What is it about? A family?
It's about a family, friends, and things that go on in their community, and trying to better the community. But it's hustling and stuff going on in
Who's
the show.
the star? You don't even know the star. You can't be the expert on Power.
I don't know. I know.
Ghost is the character?
Yes.
I feel the look that, for the listeners, the look that Deebo's giving me right now is that I've been in a coma for the past 10 years.
Most definitely.
Listen, man, thanks for this. I wish you the best of luck, okay?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the time. So, yeah, Power, apparently. We should be watching Power. And Deebo made me feel like an idiot. Gonna try Joe Staley, Pro Bowl offensive lineman. Actually, I just said that without even checking if he's in the Pro Bowl, but he's good. Joe Staley. Let's go talk to him. This is Joe Staley, star offensive lineman, San Francisco 49ers. We have a segment called What You Watching, where we just talk about what we watch on TV last night. You got a Netflix show or anything you're into right now?
You know what? Right now, I have nothing that I'm watching right now.
What's the most recent thing you watch?
I don't watch a whole lot of television.
What do you do?
I do like to watch comedians in cars getting coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. Those are little 15, 20-minute episodes.
They're good.
You don't really have to commit hard to them. It's not like a long watch. You have to binge. All of a sudden, you get sucked in, and all of a sudden, in 2 weeks, as if your life is gone. You know what? Name some shows that I'll tell you. Look,
I don't pretend to be hip with the times. I was talking to Deebo Samuel, and he said Power, and I didn't even know that show. He made fun of me.
That one.
He said that's the #1 show on TV, and I go, I've never heard of that show.
Let's see.
I'm kind of in the middle of Ray Donovan.
So my dad loved that one.
But it's a big commitment. See, that's the one thing, Joe. I
haven't watched a show in a long time.
So what do you do with your life when you're not
football? and then I hang out with my kids and my wife.
How old are your kids?
5 and 2, so they take a ton of my time.
Yeah.
So my days right now consist of going to practice, doing football, and then going home. And it's like I almost have to take a coffee to get home because there's so much energy, and I'm exhausted from the day of football, but I have to bring dad energy back home. So I go home, the kids go to bed about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then at 8, I watch film, study for about an hour, and then I'm in bed at 9 o'clock.
I'm going to give you hope for the future. I had 3 in 3 years, so I had kids that were like 6, 4, and 3 at the same time. And you're right. You are not. All I watched was like Dora the Explorer and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to talk episodes of that, I can talk about Paw Patrol. We got Bubble Guppies. We got Magic School Bus.
Did you ever do this? This happened to me one time. You get so used to watching those shows. I took the kids to school, and then I ended up, the TV was still on, and I sat there and watched for like 2 hours, and I realized I'm watching Blue's Clues, and there's nobody else here but me.
And you kind of like it. And then he started singing the theme song.
But you started yelling at the guy, like, can't you see the damn clue? It's right there. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is mine are all teenagers now. They leave you alone. You can watch shows, okay? So we'll catch up with you when you're playing in your 18th Pro Bowl at the age of 47.
Yeah.
And then you'll
have a little bit more of an answer for you on television.
Best of luck on Sunday.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So there you have it. Joe Staley is in a dark place when it comes to his what you watching years. I've been there. It's not pretty. Pray for him. And pray for the Niners on Sunday. I'm headed back to my hotel room to watch seasons 1 through 4 of Power. We'll see you next week with a Super Bowl recap on the Rubber Boots Pod.
Hey, how are you? I got a question that I really want to ask you. Wait, don't hang up. I need to know, so I'm gonna try and push my luck. Are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? Are they purple, yellow, green, blue, black, or white? Are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? And do you like the dunk tank at the fair? I know it's a little strange, my obsession with your choice of footwear in the rain. I know that you're on TV, but I need you to put your boots up on the desk for me. Are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? Are they purple, yellow, green, blue, black, or white? Are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? And do you like the dunk tank at the fair? This is the part they call the bridge. A bridge has water under it. With rubber boots you can wade in the water. Just don't fall in. Are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? Are they purple, yellow, green, blue, black, or white? Are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? And do you like a dunk tank at the fair? Do you like the dunk tank at the fair? The dunk tank at the fair. Are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? No, seriously. Are you wearing your rubber boots? Don't hang up. Please. Somebody. Hey? Anyone?